I don't know if I'm supposed to take attendance or not, but I think I've got everybody. So I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Paula Swearingen.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Howard.
What's never been asked?
There are a couple of people that are a little bit early, so I'll start with a little bit of a review. Not all of you were here last time, and then what we're going to focus on today, as I said last time, we will focus on the courses that you could teach abroad, that you might consider teaching abroad, and the locations. And then in the next session, April 13th, we will have filled out a proposal form, and we'll focus on the details of your proposal, and a lot of that will be about budget stuff. So, which is important. So to review what we did last time, if you were here, if you were not here, we discussed the basics. Why should a student study abroad? Lots of answers to that. What types of study abroad are available through SUU? What is faculty-led study abroad program like? Who can lead a study abroad program? What courses can be taught? Where can I take students? What commitments must one make? We're going to focus on the last three questions there today. Go a little bit more in depth than we did last time. There were lots of great questions in the first session, and I'd like to continue that. If you have questions as I speak, as we go along, if somebody asks a question and you have a follow-up question, let's just open it up to everyone. Otherwise, I won't know what you don't know. Any questions about the things we covered? Anything that came to you in the past week that? Yes.
If you decide to create a course that's two courses in one, like say somebody mentioned photography and
Ecotourism.
Yeah. So if you do that, is there an expectation that you stay in the country a longer week?
Not necessarily. Okay. No. We'll talk about course requirements, and that's one of the big questions really is, well, if I'm overseas with 10 students or whatever for 2 weeks, you know, what about contact hours, and how do we cover all the requirements that a course cover everything that's supposed to cover? We'll talk about that a little bit. That's a good question, and one that I'm sure others have as well. Oops, wrong direction. Okay, courses and places.
Kurt, I do have a question.
Yes.
It's basically a concern. If, faculty take students to overseas countries, what if they have accidents, emergency happen, they got sick or killed? Who is going to be responsible for that part of damage?
You are.
Nobody's
Or do you mean financially?
Financially, I mean, how this part is covered.
All of our students are required to have, and it's built into the budget, travel insurance, international travel insurance. So they'll be covered financially. As the director, though, if something happens, you need to be with the student to go to the hospital or have some responsible adult accompany the student.
So it's like your effort as a faculty member is trying to minimize the damages.
Yes, yeah, and
but still,
in some
we are
cases,
responsible.
Yeah, you're responsible. We'll certainly do what we can back here in the States from our offices, but because you're on site, you're really the one who's taking charge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the scary part. I'm concerned.
It is a bit, and that's why it's a big commitment and responsibility.
We actually cover that part.
Right. Yeah. Good question. Okay, so what courses can be taught in a faculty-led study abroad program? We discussed this a little bit last time, and I've just got a few examples here. Kind of a range from gen ed classes all the way through upper division readings and conferences, special topics. So introduction to theater, English 2010. I don't know if I can think of other gen ed classes. I don't know what the number is for intercultural communication, COM 1030 or something like that. Typically, these courses that fulfill gen ed requirements, you have a much larger pool of students who can join your program. typically you get younger students because they're fulfilling their gen ed requirements. They're not seniors yet, sort of specializing in these things. So there are things to consider with regard to course offering. But you can offer a 1,000 level course or 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Several of our programs, the major has a course that's called special topics, and so it becomes special topics. History of Romania or whatever it is, if it's a history class, HRHM, special topics, or a readings and conferences class. Or if you teach graduate level classes, you could do a graduate level program. In any case, the point is just about any class. As I said last time, there could be a case where taking students abroad doesn't make sense. I mentioned a math class, I guess. If the professor had been, I don't know, more creative, perhaps he could have led the math class in Ireland, but it didn't work out. So consider the classes you teach. In the wrong direction here. Where can I take students? Fiji, to the beach, or Tonga, I don't know which that was. But you can take them just about anywhere. I'll talk a little bit about travel warnings in a minute, but as long as it's a safe place, relatively safe place, Americans travel there on a fairly regular basis, you can probably take your students there. There are places in Mexico. Mexico is on the travel warning list, but the travel warning is specific by state within Mexico. Some states you don't take students to that Americans don't really travel to. Some are considered safe. So we go on a kind of a case-by-case basis, but in general, SUU does not authorize taking students to countries that are under a travel warning. If you want to do that, then we can discuss the safety issues. Travel alerts as well. Those are usually in cases where a travel alert will be issued when there's a weather-related issue or a political coup, something that happens kind of briefly. It's not a general unsafe place. So travel alerts are a little bit different, but we work with faculty members to discuss those issues. If you really want, for a long time we said nobody's taking students to Mexico. No more going to Mexico. Travel warnings, too dangerous. Well, we've seen that more and more student groups are being led to Mexico, so we thought, well, we'll try it, and we did. We haven't had problems, but we want to do it safely. The last thing we want is to have students and faculty, get in a situation where you're making the international news because you went to a place that was unsafe and put students in danger. Matt, then.
So it's been a while since I looked at the State Department travel warnings, but as I recall, very few countries have blanket bans. Most of them have mini cities where there's specific types of warnings. But when you say, is there a category ban like on the website? Like,
yeah, well, there's just the designation travel warning, and then there's a designation travel alert. And we have kind of over the years in the international office taken the stance that there's a travel warning. We just kind of want to say, no, you can't go there, but we'll look at it more closely. I have quite a few students in the EDGE program, for example, more and more frequently want to do projects in Mexico in particular. And I need to sit down with them and make sure that they have looked at the travel warning. They're not just going to Tijuana or what's become really Acapulco that's become really dangerous lately. It used to be a popular travel destination for Americans. Yeah, there are quite a few different places in Mexico. But yeah, you're right. They become more specific. We just want people to make informed decisions, basically, and to know that the university cannot be held responsible if something happens when you go to one of those countries that's under a travel warning. So we have a special waiver for students to sign. And it could be a case where if a faculty member really, really wants to take students somewhere for some reason, we might need to sit down with Stephen, maybe with the provost or something, and look at it and make a sort of a higher level decision. We haven't had any of those recently, but
If you can do a trip somewhere that's not on the travel warning list, just lean that way. It just makes it easier.
Well, I'm trying to sell those programs to parents, not that we're selling to parents, but they're gonna be the ones that say, I'm not sending my kid to. We've had parents refuse to send their children to Austria because they think Austria is cheap. Austria's shocking. I don't know if they've ever been on a travel warning list. In any case, just about anywhere you can go with your students. So then what are the commitments? We'll begin with the courses that you teach, and then we'll talk about, go back to the places. First of all, the course must be listed in the the current course catalog. You're not creating a new course, having it go through curriculum committees and that sort of thing. I suppose down the road, if you wanted to do that, you could propose something through your department, study abroad. I don't know, whatever the designation would be. But basically, the courses that are already listed in the SU General Catalog. And you are already approved to teach the class. Maybe you've taught the class already here. That's typically what faculty do. They've taught the class in the classroom. Or it's one that you're qualified to teach according to your department chair and the dean. In addition, taking the students to a location abroad will enhance their learning. It's not just, oh, we're going to go to Paris and we'll say it's a chemistry class, but we're going to visit the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre and all this stuff. It has to make sense with the class. And then in the end, it's not just my office, the Office of Learning Abroad, or the Office of International Affairs that says, yeah, you can teach that class overseas. It has to be signed off on by the department chair and the dean of the college in which the class is taught. Okay, so when you submit a proposal, you have to see those signatures on the proposal saying, yep, it's approved. We're not the experts in my office on the academic side of it, so we rely on the department chair and the college dean. And then the location itself, as I've said before, the country's not on the U.S. Department of State travel warning list, so we can look at that in just a minute. That the place you're taking the students to will enhance the learning of the students. I'll show a couple of examples here in a minute of how that works. The instructor is familiar with the place, that you know the local language and the culture, the safety issues, the modes of travel, or that you are employing an outside organization on location to take charge of those things. You don't have to have been to the location you're taking your students to, ideally. That would be best. But I took a group of students, for example, to Budapest and Prague and Vienna in May. I'd been to Budapest a few times. I'd never been to Prague. I'd been to Vienna like eons ago. And I didn't feel comfortable knowing how to use the local transport system, not fluent in Hungarian or German or Czech. So we employed an outside organization, and it raises the overall cost a little bit, but I just felt safer doing that. There were other faculty members who went along with me as well, but really there was an organization called CETL, which in Europe, they're kind of our preferred provider. They handle all that stuff, much less stress on me. And I think the students had a much better learning experience.
And Curtin has to have these connections, so you don't have to figure that out. You can have a lot of great help with this too.
Yeah, if you're looking for an organization, we've got them on our website, and you can also just come to us and ask for recommendations.
And we've learned over the years, faculty members who have led study abroad programs at other universities, or somehow they've heard from colleagues or something. We've learned of new organizations, Maximo Nivelle in South America. Can't recall the one that Chris Taylor uses. Atlas, yeah. We do, you've probably heard of EF tours. We've had some challenges with EF tours. I think they're probably considered the premier provider. That's kind of the name that a lot of people know. They lead a lot of high school groups. We just had some bad experiences with EF tours, so we kind of try to steer people away from.
I don't know if we've had a good one yet for this year.
We tried to encourage faculty to not use them on a trip they're organizing, and beginning to kind of snowball with their problems with that kind of stuff. We'll see how that goes. The last bullet point, costs for travel to and from and around the place you're going to, lodging, meals, activities, et cetera, can be estimated accurately several months before travel. You should be able to know what your costs are going to be before you go. You're putting together a proposal roughly a year, 10 months before you're probably going to take the students abroad. Exchange rates fluctuate, airfare fluctuates, so you really have to be careful and estimate high, but not too high when you're building your budget. If you can't do that, we can't just have a bunch of students sign up for a trip and say, oh, it's going to be anywhere from $2,000 to $7,000. Go ahead and sign up, and we'll let you know a little bit before we go, where it falls in that spectrum. So in your proposal, we ask for a pretty solid number, which is what we market to the students, and you need to have some confidence that that's what the number is going to be.
Kurt, what happens? You estimate high, and you are high. What happens to that extra money?
There have been cases where the exchange rate will drop in our favor dramatically, or you're able to cut some costs. I think it was the Fiji program in particular that said, I don't remember what the dollar figure was, but they were able to get whoever was helping them in Fiji and Tonga, they were able to get free housing, I think it was. And so they said, so what do we do? So they cut their rate back for their students, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they lowered the price for the students before the trip.
Yeah. Said we were, it's not
But
going to cost as much.
what if you get out there and, something you plan on going and seeing is shut down for whatever reason?
You're not able to
Say you
spend
have
that money or
$50
something.
left over for every student.
As long as you're within your budget, if you want to, say you were going to go to this museum, but you didn't realize, they didn't say on their website it was under construction while you're going to be there, so you can take them to another museum, or, if that's not a possibility, maybe a going away dinner.
So you don't give them money back?
You never give the students money back, no.
We have had requests to buy dinner that wasn't originally planned. So you can find other ways to
So
add value.
what I'm asking is that money that's left over is absorbed by your office.
Yep, and the money that's lost is.
No,
I know, I mean, it works both ways, so.
Yeah.
Is that right? You will cover expenses that are,
Well,
I'm not doing this under bid.
No.
No.
As it's worked out, we do, I can think of one, Tessa has the details number because she works with the money side of it, but we did have somebody go slightly over budget last year. It was a faculty member who has led programs in the past. It was just slightly over. It's not like it was really bad budgeting. And then some that came just under their budget. So it kind of balances out. We don't have extra money to fund. That's why we build in an administration fee. But it does, we hope anyway, it balances out. If you're way under budget, there's several $1,000s left, then we'll figure that out, I guess. But I don't think we've ever had that case.
I don't know, every now and then, what we tell instructors and professors is we encourage you, if you can find a way to spend it on the students, then do. Like, they paid that money for that trip, if you can find a way to do it. If not, it does stay in our budget, but we're also a self-support office, and so we're grateful for that. But it does, sometimes programs do go over budget, and we do end up covering those expenses as well, especially for people who have never gone over budget before and have an off year. It's like, okay, we're paying for that, so it helps us.
Well, we do try to turn as much as possible into scholarships when we can. If we do have some, and maybe not a scholarship for that specific program for next year, but I don't spend it on I need to go to a conference in Hawaii, I think.
I might.
Kurt's gonna use it. Yeah, you might.
So you guys have overhead? Is that what it means? Is your self-support?
Partly, yeah. Yep. Student worker wages and that sort of thing.
Not their salaries per se, but.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed budget.
But we're helping you with the budgeting piece. I mean, if you can imagine, you're buying tickets, you're buying meals, you're collecting money we're doing all of that for you to that. Make it simple.
So this is the, sorry, are there other questions? These are good questions. Yes.
So it sounds like basically the students go and they don't spend money on anything, right? The faculty is responsible for all their meals and
No,
lodging.
it depends on how you build your budget. You
Okay.
can decide what meals to include and what not include. And there's actually, we'll show you guys the budget, I think next time, the budget worksheet. It actually has line items for each of those things. So you can choose what you include and what you don't include. And a lot of it depends on where you go and what kind of trip you're doing.
As long as we make it very clear to students what things are covered under the study abroad fee and what things they'll be responsible for paying for. For example, if you're staying in a hotel and that hotel provides breakfast, you can let them know that your breakfasts are covered, but you're gonna have to figure in lunch and dinner yourself.
And on our website where we advertise it, there's a list that'll say what's included and what's not included. And then you're required to actually have orientations with your group before they go. And there you really need to be more specific about, okay, this is like how much, is not covered. I'm estimating it should be about this much, so make sure you have that much money to bring with you. Does that make sense? And everybody's is different.
Yeah, they're all different.
Yeah.
Some include airfare, some don't, most don't, but. So this is the U.S. Department of State travel alert and warning page. And you can, maybe you can't see it, it's kind of small, but countries like Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, where you're going next week, couple weeks. Did you get a waiver for that? Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Peru, those are alerts. Peru, French Guiana, Mauritania, Cameroon, Syria, Afghanistan. But you see that some of these are very recent. March 30th, March 29th. I think the Mexico travel warning is still, please don't take any students to North Korea. The Mexico travel warning, I think, is from December, but they update that, it seems, about every 6 months. So there might be a new one coming up. Ethiopia, Burundi, Algeria, Ukraine.
So it's not based on Trump's list.
Excuse me?
It's not based on Trump's list.
Not yet.
I just say
Not
this
yet.
question, I'm not.
I know, yeah, we might have to start thinking about those issues, so. But for now, this is kind of our baseline where we say, you can't go to these countries, but we can discuss them if you really want to. Okay. Let me get back to my PowerPoint. Where did it go? Okay. I think I've gone through this list already. So, any other questions about the places or the courses that you want to take students to?
Our question is not quite related to that, but it's related to what we talked earlier.
Mhm.
If you take a student, a group, and which happened, one kid got in a fight in a bar and got arrested.
Yeah.
Are we responsible for that? It
You are
wasn't
responsible
major,
to let the university know about that,
of course.
and then
And could our
probably
job
others
never
will need to
come
get
back?
involved, I would imagine. The dean of students, Jared Tippett,
Rick Brown.
probably Rick Brown, yeah, there might be others. It would go to another level, but if you're the person representing SU on site, we would have to kind of work through you from here as much as possible, but yeah, it's case by case basis. I was thinking, when the terror attack happened on the bridge, Westminster Bridge in London, what would I have done if I had my 30 students there and that happened? And it would all depend on where we were any students hurt, were we nearby. We require the faculty directors to prepare an emergency action plan that says this is what we will do in the event of an emergency. And on mine, for example, first thing that students are told to do is whatever the local authorities tell you to do that. Do not try to be a hero. And then it becomes more detailed from there. If you're with the entire group, find me. They have my cell phone number. I also give them the location of the nearest U.S. embassy, where it is, how to get there, get back to our hotel if we're not together as a group. If you can't do that, go to step C or whatever. It's a pretty detailed list. There's no way to cover everything. If some person runs into our group on Westminster Bridge, here's what we do. Who would have guessed that would happen? So you have to play it by ear at the time. Fortunately, I haven't had to sort of use the emergency action plan, but I imagine in a stressful situation, it will be good to have that if I ever am in that situation where, okay, let's go to the plan rather than I don't know what to do, which is probably going to happen anyway. But
Kurt, would you say that it's more often an accident or illness versus getting in trouble with the law, or usually the students, we realize they're guests in a foreign land, and behavior tends to be.
And I do have to say that having heard some of the stories of study abroad groups from other universities, our students are really pretty good.
Is that because you show them Midnight Express before you send them off?
That's right.
We do orientation for them though.
We do orientations, but
like we talk about in that orientation, if you're arrested in a foreign country, there's not much we can do for you. We talk to them about not getting drunk, not doing drugs, and other dangerous things.
that's the thing I was going to mention is that we've stayed in dorms in London at a college, and the people who run the dorms love our group because our students aren't a problem, and they get students coming from other universities. They're getting drunk every night, making noise in the halls, and it annoys our students. But our students aren't the ones doing that typically. We have had on groups I've led where a student, he turned 21, and I think he knew he could drink in the UK before he turned 21, but he was going to sort of celebrate. And the other students really kind of kept him in check and kept track of him. I wasn't going to go to the bar with him on his 21st birthday. That's not my role, but I kind of knew what was going on. But the students kind of took care of him, knew that he got back to the dorms okay. He wasn't feeling great the next day, but you know, we can't be the parent and say, no, you can't do that. You're an adult. You know, you can do what you want, but you have to understand the consequences of what you're going to do. So it hasn't really been a problem. I don't know if you can think of examples from other programs.
No, not with things like that. Things that have happened in the past. You talked about the broken bone that one time, so you go to the emergency room with them. We have had students get sick on trips where it's been really helpful to have two directors, one to stay with the group and one to stay with the sick student. The worst one that we had was a long, long time ago, and a student actually got alcohol poisoning on the trip and had to be hospitalized. It ended up being long-term, and so his father actually had to come and stay with him and get him. But the insurance that we've got, and that was sad, and it was bad too, because he was actually an older student. He should have known better. But that's the worst one that we had. But the insurance that we require students to purchase, that's included in these study abroad programs, it covers somebody to come in the case of hospitalization, so the parent, you know, would be able to get reimbursed. It covers emergency hospitalization. Thankfully, we've never had this. I know other trips that other schools have, but even repatriation of remains, it covers that. And so, thankfully, this insurance covers a wide variety of things: illness, hospitalization, accidents, and all of those.
There are certain things it doesn't cover, too.
Like
Skydiving
stuff.
and yeah. So if you have like an outdoor adventure program or something putting together, you might have to look at different.
You might need to get supplemental insurance.
They do have higher level plans, but we get the basic, and certain things aren't covered on that. I asked you to before today, and I don't know how many of you were here last time. I recognize most of your faces from last time, but asked you to think about the classes you would teach and the places you would go. Would you like a few minutes to kind of go through individually those questions? I know couple of people have to leave in about 10 minutes, right? I had planned to put us in a kind of small group so you can get to know each other a little bit. Maybe we don't have time for that.
Or we can.
Or we can.
Well, I have a question
Let's do
about
it.
number 4.
You guys are asking such good questions. I think there might just be more questions that are more valuable to ask the questions. Basically, this exercise is to get you to think about kind of the basic things before you prepare the bigger proposal. Not including budget stuff, but I'm sorry, what were you?
Yeah, so for number 4, it says we'll be able to meet the course requirements, the learning outcomes, contact hours, exams, etc. in only a couple of weeks abroad. So if I think about the contact hours that I have with my students in a normal setting, how does that fit into the?
Good question, and it depends on your class. I'll just give an example. I've taken students to London, and they've gotten credit for English 2010 writing about something, an academic writing class. Well, it's a writing class. I have to be writing, and I'm not going to have them sit and write for 2 weeks in London because they need to see. So London becomes sort of the research component and the experiential learning, and they write about it afterwards. They still have to do the same amount of writing they would if they were in the classroom. But rather than assign readings or do other things, the experience abroad replaces some of the classroom activities. And even though they're, maybe they're overseas for 2 weeks and they're fulfilling 45 contact hours for a 3-credit class, well, they're not really actively engaged the whole time on that specific class, perhaps. Professors build their programs different ways, and in the end, if it's signed off on by the department chair and the dean, then we say, well, I'm not the academic expert in your field of study, so I don't know. It's up to you to maintain the rigor, but not make it so hard that students say, I'm never going to study abroad again. That was way too hard. So you have to kind of find a balance.
So do you set the time frame like we're going to meet a week before and go through some of the requirements?
Yeah.
And then for 3 weeks afterwards, you're going to be assigned to turn in certain papers or do something like that. So you can say whether that's going to be 4 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 weeks after you get home that they have to finish certain projects. And hand them into you.
And typically, because it's in the summer, you handle all that stuff online rather than try to do a face-to-face.
So you don't expect everyone to get back together.
Really, the preparation beforehand, I know a little bit about the psychology in Spain, psychology in Italy, they've gone different places, where the students do readings for several weeks before they go abroad, and then they discuss those readings, and the professors say, okay, here's why I assigned this reading, and these are the things we're going to point out when we get to Spain, and these are the things we're going to look for. So they do some preparation before they go, and then on site, the professors explain some things while they're there kind of live, and then when they get back, the students have to write a research paper or do some other things.
So let's say like I'm an English teacher and you're like a biology or an engineering or something. And do they work when you have different disciplines or something like that? Like let's say you have a class and they might not have a substantial writing component, or maybe they do, but we could team teach like we do in some of the cohort classes to say, so here's an English teacher, I would go and work on the writing portion of this in the paper. I'd be responsible for like, even if it's writing the sciences or something like that. And would that blend with some of the other courses? Does that work? Or does it work
it does
to have
work.
2 or 3 English professors get together and just do an English?
Not necessarily, depends on faculty members. And I guess the best example.
Tom Taylor and Kyle Bishop.
Yeah, that's a good example. That was a new one. It was a biology and English literature
That sounds really
combined. The art and science of Frankenstein, right? And another one that has been going so long that I don't even think of them as kind of 2 separate faculty members, really, is Matt Schmidt and Sean Christiansen, Nutrition and Family Life. They take students to Japan, and students get credit for 2 seemingly quite different classes, really, but they've blended them well, so the students get credit for two classes from different disciplines. So that's possible, yeah. Typically, I suppose, I guess I'm thinking mainly of the English, is it you kind of know people in your department, so it's perhaps easier to combine things, and students who are majors in that program can get credit for 2 classes toward the degree. So.
Do you get a lot of interest from people who are that young in the program? I would think that people who are going to do study abroad would do like 3,000, 4,000 level classes, but you're talking like some of these earlier classes actually have a good group of students. To
Yeah.
sign up for.
Yeah, both. I don't know if we've ever done a sort of a survey or looked at the student levels in the faculty-led programs to see if they're mainly freshman, sophomore, junior. I think.
We
Oh, we
can
did.
pull it out fairly easily.
Yeah.
But we get a variety, and I think, like, if you want to have a big pool of students to recruit from, offering generals is a great way to have a large pool, and then also some upper level classes for your majors, and then you get, a variety of
I
younger
understand
and
where,
older
Kyle
students.
Bishop, he'll do the general ed class, but then he'll also offer an upper division lit class. So
Right.
you can give them either the English 1010 or the humanities, the lower level intro to culture or something, and then have the upper division classes so you can.
Yeah.
It just makes your pool of students that you can recruit from larger, so that you're more likely to have the trip go.
More courses you offer, then the more preps you might have is something to.
Okay, so for anyone in this room who wants an English 2010 component to your class,
You're on board.
I would be happy to do that.
Earl had his hand up earlier.
I was just, what program had the largest number of students, and why do you think they were successful in getting such large enrollment?
It seems that recently psychology has been very popular, and the nutrition and family life in Japan has been popular.
And London's always popular.
London's always popular, partly because so many courses are offered. It's the destination students want to go to, I think. A lot of it depends on the faculty recruiting students and how active the faculty member is at talking to students, not only in your own classes, but visiting your colleagues' classes, posting flyers. Whenever you talk to a student, hey, did you think about studying abroad? I think Matt Schmidt is he's kind of the model recruiter, I think. He's really good.
You start sending students as soon as they come into their program saying, you're needing to do this study abroad later down the road. And psychology, there's 4 of them that leave that trip every year, and all of that department is constantly recruiting for that trip. So it's just kind of in the department culture now.
And those that we've noticed who don't have enough students to study abroad, I guess one of them I can think of who's proposed study abroad a couple of times, teaches only online classes.
He's never gone.
Maybe he's gotten 1 or 2 students to sign up, and it's never enough to make the program run.
So we can have a dual system, lower and upper division offered, so we can get more students.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happens on these trips too, I think, well, I don't know if I want to deal with the freshmen or whatever overseas, the more mature students. My experience has been that you'll get some immature seniors, and you get a wide range. But what happens is they really start to bond. Even if you have a really big group, this group I took to London in over spring break, 30 students. I thought, well, they're going to break up into their little cliques, and these 3 are going to be off on their own, and there might be some solitary people, but they really took care of each other, and I've seen them talking in the halls. They didn't know each other before they went on the trip. It's a great bonding experience for the students. I don't know if we haven't kept track of retention numbers, students who studied abroad in these programs, but I think they feel more part of SVU and the community.
I wasn't here last time. I watched the video, and one of the topics you talked about was what is important to do abroad. You talked about culture, language, even weather, different environment, all those things.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we had the same argument as a selling point. One parent said, I can send my kid to Alabama, and everything is different there.
Yeah.
So why should I spend so much more money, send it to Austria or Japan or wherever it is? Well, what is your selling point to that? Because you have to sell that idea. It's not something
right, and you can't sell it to everybody. And typically, at this level, you are in some sense selling to the parents, but the students at this point are adults and they can make their own decisions. the student whose parent wouldn't allow her to go to Austria, we just kind of had to throw up our hands and say, okay. And sometimes it is the parent who's blocking the study abroad. We had a situation, this was an exchange situation, and Tessa can talk about it because she was actually there. She was attending a conference in Ireland, and it was just as our students were arriving on their study abroad in Dublin, and there were two students there, right, going to the same university, and one had her mom there, wasn't getting anything done, wasn't going to do orientations, wasn't filling out the paperwork, and then all of a sudden was very upset that the housing wasn't right. He said, well, did you go to the housing orientation? No, we wanted to do some sightseeing. Anyway, sometimes the parents just get in the way, and we can only do so much to try to get them out of the way. I can think about other parent examples, calls at home on weekends and things, but we can only do so much. We just have to remember that there are FERPA regulations, and we talk to the students, and we can speak in generalities when parents call and say, I have these concerns, but we can't speak specifically about the student unless the student gives us permission.
As far as selling points for the programs in general, though, I mean, you can say that Alabama and Florida and anywhere in the U.S. is different, because it is. But how much more different is it to go to a different country where they speak a completely different language?
Alabama, they speak different.
But I mean, even more different, you know, it's even more outside of your comfort zone and stuff like that. And I think a lot of times students aren't going to get nearly as excited about going to Alabama as they are, you know, going to a different country. And I think the excitement of it, and then just the more, I mean, just the greater diversity, the greater experiential learning, that's going to be the selling point. A lot of times I think you'll find it's not hard to sell students on the idea of going to another country, unless, you know, that type of thing just doesn't appeal to them at all. They're not hard to sell. Maybe parents cost-wise it is, but.
Could you invite the parents to go with you? Say, you know what,
Sometimes they insist on going, and that's okay. They can, and we've made accommodations for spouses and children and parents. I'll send an email about the assignment for next time. Okay, thanks. But yes, parents can go on the trip, and they have.
That's a two-good question. So as far as the insurance, the faculty members will be covered under that insurance plan?
Yes, yeah, well, we provide insurance for you too as a faculty member.
So we won't have to do any expansions in EMI or anything like that?
No,
okay.
No.
Okay, and then I have a faculty member I used to work with back at my old university, because he come along as a guest lecturer, because he's an expert, I'm an expert, but he's even more of an expert in Stockholm, Sweden.
Yeah.
So
you ultimately are in charge of the courses and sort of the program, but if you want to bring an expert and factor in his or her travel into the budget, that sort of thing, yeah, we can do that.
Okay, perfect.
In fact, Janice, I guess, is a good example that her husband is from Australia, and he was there, kind of their tour guide on site. And so he's not, as far as I know, associated with the university, but
he's a student.
Is he a student? Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, good question. So, because we only have a couple of minutes left, I guess those who needed to leave early have left. Good job on the activity. No, I think it's more valuable to have a discussion.
If I have a request, I'm also curious to learn the existing successful forums. If you guys can show us what are the.
That's my next step. Here we go. So this is in the, I wanted to show you this is in the Canvas, the CETL Canvas course. And if you go to the modules, click on that. I'm at the very bottom of the list under Kurt Harris. You'll see that, and you can open this up. And then click on the proposal form, and then I've added 3 examples of what have been successful programs, and their proposals are solid. So the theater in London, I don't know how many years that's gone in remote Japan, Nutrition and Family Life, and then the Eastern Europe MPA program. But the proposal form here, if I can get this to work. Oh. It's the Word doc, right? Yeah, there it is. So this is the form, and we're going to have to update it because we're no longer the Sargon Magna Global Engagement Center, but everything else, I'm pretty sure will stay the same on this form for next time. But what I would like you to do for next time is complete this form. And well, you have access to it in Canvas. I can email it to everybody too if you want. But complete this form to the best of your ability for the course that you would like to take abroad. And if you aren't really sure that you want to build a study abroad program, just go through the exercise anyway to see what it's like. And then maybe down the road you could pull it out and build upon it. But who would be the program directors? What department does it fall under? Kind of contact information, program location, the courses that would be taught, and then signature lines. We put this on the front page so we can see it quickly, but department chair and dean sign off on it. And then a series of questions. Some of them have to do with, well, the name of the program, what do you want to call it? How does the program contribute to the mission of SUU? Who's the program designed for? What is the design of the program? So where will you go? What will you see? Cities? Who will lead the program? How are they qualified to teach that class? Language skills, infrastructure, expertise. Let's see if I can scroll. What are the safety and security risks? That's something that we've talked about it a little bit already, that at some point you'll have to create an emergency action plan. You don't have to do it for formally for the proposal, but you do need to address, that you understand some of the risks and challenges with regard to safety abroad. How will you market the program? How will broad faculty support of the proposed program be demonstrated? Will your colleagues be resentful because you're taking a bunch of students somewhere to get credit for a class, but that's the class your colleague teaches and it's going to affect numbers or something? How is the program different from current study abroad offerings? You might not know the answer to that right away. There's a list of the current faculty-led study abroad programs on our website. You can look at that. This is what we'll be spending a lot of time on in the next session is the budget, because it can get very complicated. And I wasn't educated as a travel agent or an accountant or anything like that, so you kind of have to learn on the fly how to keep track of all this stuff. But there are things you might not think of to consider if you haven't led one of these before. So we'll talk about that. And in red, if your program spends more than you budgeted, the excess amount will be deducted for the program director teaching fee. Typically, all of the instructor's costs, travel costs, are covered. We build it into the program that the students pay for. In addition, faculty members can get $250 per student for teaching the class. You don't get an overload as if you were teaching an extra class on campus, but partly to give you incentive to get more students into the program. Built into the budget is $250 per student that you would get as the instructor, the leader of the course, in addition to all of your travel being covered. Some faculty members, in order to cut the costs, will say, I don't want to waive my $250 teaching fee. Some of them, when there are 2 people leading the program, they each want to be paid $250 per student. Some say, we'll split the cost. Some say, I don't want to pay anything. So it's up to you. But if you go over your program budget, we'll have to take it out of what would be kind of your overload pay. In addition, only those costs described in the proposal and approved by the, it's called the Advisory Board for Learning Abroad now, will be reimbursed. We have an advisory board, I think I mentioned this last time, that consists of faculty members, 1 representative from each college, a student rep, being Tessa, and a staff representative now as well, who review all of the proposals that are sent in, either approve them or send them back saying, yeah, I have concerns here with instead of the other who revise and resubmit.
Now that one, not to say you couldn't add things in like we talked about earlier, if you're way under budget and you want to add activities, and that says you can, unless it's in the proposal. You just need to email us first and ask us if it's okay. The reason that that's theirs, because in the past, there have been people that spent money on things that were not actually reimbursable, and they got in trouble for it. So that's why that's theirs. We just want to make sure that people are spending money on things that they actually can.
And we ultimately, we have to answer to the accounting folks, yeah. Here's quickly an example of a completed one, and Jeb Brannon is very detailed in his responses, so this is why I like his so much. Let's see. Oh, there it is, okay. So kind of the basic stuff he has on here, his name, sponsoring departments, theater and dance and University College, his email address, proposed program name, theater in London. Not that it's the most important thing on the form, but the name of your program needs to be pretty specific. Some have tried to get really clever with the names of their programs in the past. I can't remember the title of the one to Italy, but it was a really long title, and it didn't really indicate what was being taught. It was in Italy, but that was about it. So what is it you're teaching? Where is it? Is not sexy, but gets the point across. Locations in the UK. Proposed program dates, May 4th to the 14th, 2016. Courses and credit hours. So he's offering Intro to Theater, which is 3 credits. He's offering Performance Studies, which is 3 credits, and then a Directed Project, University 2890. Not that students can take all of those classes and get 9 credits, but they can choose up to 6 credits. And he'll have those available for students. His is a program which in the past 2 years, he has kind of partnered with Joyce Tarantino, who teaches the English 2010 pop culture in the UK. I think she's done science fiction in the UK or something like that.
That's what she's done this year.
Yeah. But this is his proposal. He's partnered with Joyce Tarantino, who's teaching other classes, and I'm sure they have very similar answers to the questions that are not related specifically to their courses. Here's a handout. Yeah.
I'm just a little bit confused about how it works as far as you talked about how you need to be listed as the teacher, the class needs to be listed in the catalog.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're, let's say I'm assigned to teach, I'm thinking visual development in the fall, but I want to do it as a travel study. And so then it'll take place in the summer, and then what happens in the fall?
You would still teach that in the fall, assuming that.
I teach it again? Or?
You could offer it again to those students maybe who couldn't take it in the fall or who really wanted to go abroad and take it.
So it would be an additional class to teach, but it would be mirroring another class that you do.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, it's not replacing another.
Okay, that makes sense.
You may want to be aware that, is it going to sink your fall class and you don't have enough to teach it, or what are the unintended consequences?
Okay, sometimes your department chair might not like that idea, but kind of focuses on a class that doesn't feel in the fall, they may tell you, no, you can't do that. I see.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, thank
And that's why it's good sometimes to offer more than one course. That you only get 1 or 2 students.
Right, so you offer, okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense, thanks.
Yeah. Good
Carl, I
question.
have a quick question.
Yes.
If we start to initiate a project like this, how long it takes to make a real course? In terms of, the approval, proposal, preparation, all of this process.
I think it's on the first page. I won't go back to it because I'm having trouble with this, but I think September 15th is usually sort of right after Labor Day is the deadline for faculty members to get their proposals in. And then we try to get through them within a week after that, the advisory board, so that we can approve them and then have the study abroad fair to begin marketing these new programs to the students as soon as possible in the fall semester. And so you really have, if you find out, say on September 20th, that, okay, your program's approved, you're good to go, you can start to put the pieces together. You won't know exactly how many students you have on your trip, or if you have enough to go, probably until January. Typically, our deadline for students to apply for these programs has been around January 15th. And it's at that point, okay, I've got 10 students, my minimum was 10, I can start to make reservations for hotels and those sorts of things. So it seems to some people as if we start really early. Why in September do you you start doing this? And why in January? Well, it's because there's a lot of planning to do, and you have to know exactly how many students you're making reservations for. You have to book flights. There's a lot to do ahead of time. It surprises me sometimes that study abroad organizations or kind of student travel organizations. I'll get an email. I've gotten several emails this week saying, "Hey, you can still sign up for our April whatever trip to Spain." Like, how am I going to market that? Who's going to? Oh yeah, okay. I'm not doing anything that week in April. I'll just go in a couple of weeks. So we try to start as early as possible.
So after students submit their applications in January, then when you can start the program?
Then you can start. I mean, you should start to put your plans in place as much as possible before you know exactly how many students you have going. And it's another one of those cases where we sort of work with faculty members. Sometimes they say you have a minimum of 10 students to go in your budget, but you have 9 sign up. Rather than say, oh, sorry, 9 students, we had to have 10, we can say, okay, let's look at the budget. If we adjust it a little bit, maybe if we cut out this activity, or we tell students, you know what, we're going to have to charge another $500, we can try to make it work for 9 students. Or we can, yeah, we can extend the deadline for another couple of weeks and try to get 1 more student or 2 more students or something. We do have students, I don't know what the percentage is, it's pretty low, of students who cancel. Like they're all signed up, they're ready to go, January 15th hits, we've got their application, we've got their deposit, and then mid-February, it's, oh, you know what, I can't go, something happened. That happens too, and then we just have to sort of figure things out. Some of their money might be refundable, but some of it might not, we might have spent some of it already, so.
So this kind of program can be offered in spring, fall, regular semesters, and summer, right?
Typically, no, because you're probably teaching in the regular, like in the fall and in the spring, and the students have other classes in the fall and in the spring, so they can't leave for 2 weeks.
So what is the typical time?
Typically in May. Maymester we have found is the best time, partly because it's just before the really heavy tourist season most places, but also because the students are still at least a little bit in the academic mindset. They've just come out of the spring semester. I've led a couple of programs in like July before, and you lose touch with the students between the end of April and then July, and they've been working, they've been out, and it's just easier. It's much easier to coordinate it in May. I've found.
This year, for the first time, we had a program during the Christmas break, and we had 2 during the spring break.
First time we
Those are kind of piloted. They're a lot shorter. You've got a lot less time to do stuff, and I think they each, they offered 1 credit was all because of the short time. So I guess that's a possibility. It's kind of a new thing.
So remember we had like the Christmas London trip. Is that like study abroad program or it's just?
That's a community. It's not for students.
Oh,
And it doesn't offer any credit.
What's that?
Christmas they went to Spain.
Yeah.
No, Christmas during the winter.
Contact.
Yeah.
That wasn't Christmas.
They called it New Year's in Barcelona or something.
Yeah, and he offered a 1 credit special topics course or something like that. But I mean, it was only 1 credit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Those are options. They're just a little bit different.
But costs tend to be, it's not a peak season in a lot of markets, and so lodging and airfare be a little good value.
Summer is not a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Anyway, we're a little bit past our time. I'll certainly answer more questions, but these documents are available to you in Canvas, and I would recommend that you look through the 3 samples because they are quite different, really. Theater in London, with just 1 faculty member. Nutrition and Family Life in Japan, 2 faculty members, 2 different departments.
And they go to multiple cities.
They go to multiple cities. And then the MPA program, I put that in there, not because probably many of you teach graduate level programs, but because we used a third-party provider basically, so I kind of demonstrate how that works. And the document that 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 organization sent to us that we attached to the proposal. So if there are other questions, I'll be happy to entertain them. But if not,
It's Kurt.
send you an email.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.